Salutations, Internet! We're back with part 5 of our consistently uploaded retrospective rewrite of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. When we last left off, the students of Duel Academy were seeing life get back to normal following the attacks by the Shadow Rider Camula. Romance began to blossom between Cyrus and Blair as the two bonded over their shared near-death experience, while Alexis caught a glimpse of the more vulnerable side of the one, the only, Chazz Princeton. Meanwhile, Jaden struggled with demons of his own when he began seeing apparitions of a mysterious duel spirit, leading him to bury his old dueling deck. Which brings us to today's episode. Starting here, we're going to recreate the famous Chazz Princeton North Academy arc from the anime, with a rewrite twist. Episode 17 of the series picks up with Atticus Rhodes in Chancellor Shepard's office, with Jaden and Alexis present in the scene as well. Atticus finishes relaying his ordeal in the other dimension to the school administrator, explaining that Professor Banner was responsible for sending him there. When asked to clarify, he says that Banner invited him along on a research project at the abandoned dorm for some extra credit, but when they arrived, Banner attacked him and knocked him unconscious. By the time he woke up, he was in the other dimension, being hunted by the dual spirit, Trigadia. Shepard responds that they've all seen strange things while living on the island. This is stranger than most, but he believes them. This comes as something of a surprise to all the students, who believe their story would be too fantastical to be believed. Alexis asks what he means by strange things on the island. Shepard explains that over the years, students have reported seeing duel monsters when there were no holographic projectors in use, or hearing voices that weren't there. Just as he speaks, Jaden notices a figure walk behind Chancellor Shepard, which no one else seems to notice.
Jaden?
I'm so cold. Where am I? Jaden closes his eyes and shakes his head. When he opens them again, the figure is gone. Chancellor Shepard tells all of them that Professor Banner is still unconscious after Jaden's duel with Camula, and the school won't be able to investigate further until he wakes up. This frustrates Atticus, who demands that a guard be placed on Banner's room at all times. The Chancellor diplomatically tells them that he'll take it under advisement, before sending the students back to class. And we cut to opening credits.
Come on and get your game on.
Once we're done chilling with our crew in the schoolyard, we come back to see Atticus and Alexis in class together. He's clearly still in a bad mood, but she tries to cheer him up by pointing out that, hey, it's handy that they're in the same year now, and she can help him get caught up with all of his classes. This doesn't help, as he ruefully points out that he should actually be graduating this year. She is trying to stay positive, but her brother is determined to keep on sulking. The two make a bit of a scene, and Crowler reprimands them both, commenting that while Atticus can be forgiven for forgetting classroom etiquette while he's been away, students must raise their hands when they wish to speak. And that was Atticus's last nerve for the day. He gets up and leaves, commenting that maybe he shouldn't be in class anymore. With the whole class's attention now firmly on the Rhodes siblings, Crowler attempts to return to the subject of dual disk maintenance, which mostly consists of forcing students to take turns polishing his dual coat. The bell rings, ending the dreary lecture. As students begin to file out, the professor calls out to one Mr. Chazz Princeton, asking the obelisk student to hang back for a moment. He points out that Chaz has lost his last 6 examination duels, and that his grades have dipped unacceptably low. Chaz scoffs this off, replying that no one will be asking about his grades when he's in the pro leagues. Crowler retorts that it might be difficult to get into the pro leagues if he's demoted to raw yellow. This gets his attention right quick, and Crowler makes it clear that if Chaz loses another ranked duel, he'll lose his spot in the top dorm. But the professor has never been above playing favorites, and for all of his attitude, Chaz is one of his favorites. So he tells the boy that he's arranged for a duel against a lower-ranked student, the transfer kid, Bastion something. He's lost his only ranked duel, to a slifer no less. Crowler tells Chaz that the duel is scheduled for class the following day and that he should take it seriously. Chaz does take it seriously, because he knows that the slifer student who beat Bastion was Jaden, who also happens to be the one who started Chaz's losing streak. He starts to panic. So in this arc that revolves entirely around Chaz, we're gonna get to really know him as a character. We see him getting psyched out before his match, reliving his loss to Jaden over and over and over again, and get little glimpses of how he's played poorly against the opponents he's gone up against since. His confidence has really been shaken, so that night, he does something drastic. Chaz follows Bastion back to the Raw dorm and waits for his opportunity. When Bastion leaves for the cafeteria, Chaz sneaks inside and searches the place for anything useful. After a moment of searching, he finds something useful, alright. Bastion's duel disk is in its case under his desk, and his cards are still in it. Chaz puts the deck in his pocket and leaves the dorm. On his way back to Obelisk, he tears the cards to pieces and tosses the remains over the cliffside into the ocean. His sleep that night is restless as he dreams of losing a tag team duel against Jaden and Bastion, and two men that we'll later learn are his brothers ridicule him, mock him, and laugh at him. He wakes up the next morning and heads to class, only to find a small crowd of people gathered at the beach. Bastion is there, and has found some of his cards washed up on the shore. Chaz guiltily makes to leave, only to run headlong into Alexis, who is glaring at him suspiciously. She comments on how horrible it is that someone would steal Bastion's cards, which is clearly a veiled accusation. Chaz pretends not to notice and says he really needs to get to class. She just sighs and watches him go. When class begins, Crowler calls both students up to duel. To Chaz's surprise, Bastion steps up and pulls out another deck of cards. The Obelisk student hesitates until Crowler reprimands him for dawdling, at which point he jumps up and gets ready to duel. He remarks to Bastion that he thought all of his cards had been ruined, to which Bastion explains that after he realized his deck was missing, he stayed awake all night making a brand new deck so he wouldn't have to miss an examination duel. He chuckles and says that he should thank whoever threw away his cards. With their duel looming over his head, he couldn't help but assemble a new deck specifically to counter Chaz's. He looks Chaz right in the eye and says he's looking forward to facing Light and Darkness Dragon. Chaz gulps. That's unnerving. They both activate their duel discs and the episode ends as the duel begins. Episode 18 kicks off and Chaz starts out swinging, playing an oldie but a goodie, Graceful Charity. After getting his 3 new cards, he discards 2 monsters, Element Dragon and Blackland Fire Dragon. Then, by banishing these cards from his graveyard, he's able to special summon Black Dragon Kala Serpent and White Dragon Wyverbuster. Then with a flourish, he sacrifices both of these monsters to bring out his trump card, Light and Darkness Dragon. He taunts Bastion, asking if he was ready to face his ultimate beast so soon. Bastion shrugs, saying now or later, it didn't really matter. He plays 2 cards face down, and summons Horus the Black Flame Dragon, level 4, in attack mode. Chaz laughs and orders Light and Darkness Dragon to attack Horus the Black Flame Dragon. Bastion reveals his spell card, Book of Moon. Chaz tells Bastion that he clearly doesn't understand how powerful his dragon is, as his dragon's effect kicks in, negating the card and the attack continues. Bastion retorts that he knows exactly how powerful Chaz's dragon is, and activates his second card, Dimensional Prison. Light and Darkness Dragon vanishes from the field. Chaz puts 1 card face down and ends his turn. Bastion rattles off some statistical probability that Chaz is bluffing with that face down card, and orders his dragon to attack. But even with statistics, sometimes you come up unlucky, as the attack triggers a back attack ambush trap card. This ends Horus's attack, and summons a small hellish token to Chaz's side of the field. It bum rushes Bastion and explodes, dealing him 500 points of damage. Not only did Chaz manage to survive the loss of his best monster without taking damage, he sucker punched Bastion for some damage at the same time. This probably earns some commentary from the show's perpetual peanut gallery. The duel continues with Chaz pivoting his strategy to bring out his XYZ machine monsters. It all comes to a head when Chaz summons his XYZ Dragon Cannon and attacks Bastion's Horus the Black Flame Dragon. But Bastion catches Chaz off guard with a Shrink spell card. His Ancient Dragon destroys Chaz's mechanical one, powering itself up in the process. With Chaz's field clear, Bastion combos Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 6 with the Megamorph spell card. Chaz screams in dismay as the giant dragon crashes down upon him, wiping out all of his life points. He drops to his knees, unable to believe that it happened again! How did he lose again? He lets out a primal growl of frustration, which surprises everyone in the arena. Bastion approaches and congratulates Chaz on a good game, offering a hand to help him up. Chaz slaps it away, demanding to know if Bastion even realizes what he just lost, what his brothers will do to him when they find out he's a worthless duelist. Bastion is quiet for a long moment, and then explains that his old deck couldn't have beaten Chaz. The now ex-Obelisk student looks up, horrified. Bastion just nods, stating that Chaz ensured his own defeat when he forced his opponent to build a new deck. Bastion summarizes by telling Chaz that he's a good duelist, but he needs to get out of his own way. The raw student turns and walks off. As the gathered students disperse, Professor Crowler comes up to Chaz and tells him to report to Raw Yellow Dorm to be issued a new uniform. Chaz can't believe this is happening. Cut to black, roll credits. Episode 19 picks up the next morning, with Chaz trudging towards the docks, where a boat headed off the island is waiting for him. As he prepares to board, Alexis intercepts him and asks him where he's going. Without looking her in the eye, he says he's headed off this stupid island and back to his real life. She urges him to stay, saying he can make things right with Bastion and get back into Obelisk. He snaps at her, demanding to know what the point would be. If he can't be the best, there's no point. It's the whole reason his brother sent him to Duel Academy in the first place. He pulls out his deck and throws it at her feet, saying that he won't need it anymore. He boards the ship and disappears from view. Alexis looks down at the cards scattered before her, spotting Light and Darkness Dragon among them. As Chaz watches the island that's been his home disappear on the horizon, he's almost sure he can hear the dragon's longing call behind him. Not long after setting out, the boat encounters terrible weather conditions and is capsized by the roaring waves. Chaz is cast out into the ocean and left adrift on a piece of wood, Titanic style. He's just about to pull a DiCaprio when suddenly a speedboat pulls up beside him and comes down to his rescue. Chaz looks up, dreary from the sun, and slowly makes out a figure offering out a hand. The figure comes into focus, and the recent high school dropout is startled to see a man with long, shaggy white hair and a strange gold eye patch staring back at him. He takes the man's hand and is pulled aboard the boat. Now, people familiar with the English dub of this show might remember that this character's voice may or may not have resembled a famous character actor. And I will not tell you how to imagine the character's voice sounding in your head when he speaks. But if you were to imagine him speaking in a Christopher Walken voice, that wouldn't be wrong. Like, I'm not saying that's necessarily how I'm writing him, but I'm just saying that that would not be an incorrect reading of the character. To imagine as though he were portrayed by Academy Award-winning actor Christopher Walken. Just saying. He introduces himself as Zalug and apologizes that it took him so long to find him out there. The ocean is one big place. Chaz asks how he could have known to have been looking for him in the first place, and Zalug tells him that he keeps an eye out for promising talent. We get a glint off the Shadow Charm eye patch he wears, foreshadowing something sinister about this man. He navigates the boat to a strange island that is covered in ice and snow, which is not great for the soaking wet Chaz. They trudge through the snow and ice for about 20 minutes until they reach a fortress in the middle of the island. When they get there, the gate opens and Zalug steps in. Chaz starts to follow him, but Zalug blocks his path, asking to see his dueling deck. Chaz replies that he doesn't have it anymore. Zalug tells him that that's a shame because to get into Duel Academy, everyone's gotta show their cards. Chaz asks why he should come in at all, and if he might be better off taking his chances with the sea. Zalug chuckles and tells him that he's welcome to try. He gives him 1 in 10 odds of making it, even with that dinky little speedboat out there. But then, he swears that if Chaz stays, he will make him the most successful duelist imaginable. That he'll be able to swat down all the people who have embarrassed him, starting with none other than Jaden Yuki. Chaz asks where he's supposed to get any all the way out here, and Zalug tells him he can look around. Lots of people drop cards as they pass through, or freeze in the cold. He slams the gate in Chaz's face and tells him that he'd better hurry. Chaz begins to search, and soon comes across a card in the snow. He soon finds another, and another, and another. but he's getting weaker with each passing moment. The cold is excruciating. He doesn't know if he can keep going. Then, he sees it. The last card he needs. He crawls toward it. He's barely staying conscious. Every inch is a struggle. He's about to pass out. He reaches for it, almost has it, and collapses in the snow. After some time passes, a voice begins to wake him. Someone's asking if Chaz is alive. He's freaking out. Chaz's eye is forced open, and he sees a yellow blob with two dangling eyes staring at him. He backs away from a strange yellow creature with a warped body and tells him to stay back. The yellow creature scoffs and says that isn't any way to say thank you. Chaz demands to know what it is, and he introduces himself as Ojama Yellow. After Chaz passed out, his hand fell on Ojama Yellow's card and woke him up. So, Ojama Yellow warmed him up so he wouldn't freeze. Now, unlike the original anime when the Ojamas were kind of the annoying Three Stooges type characters, we're going to give them very different personalities in this take. Ojama Yellow's a bit of a mediator, but kind of an erotic, kinda nervous character. And he really lacks confidence while his brothers are missing, so we're going to see him be a little bit of a wimp for a little while. At Ojama Yellow's words, Chaz remembers the challenge that Zalug issued him and picks up the scattered cards, realizing that he has enough to get inside. He goes back to the academy and pounds on the door, ignoring the monster spirit's offended commentary along the way. The gate swings open again, and Zalug is standing there, impressed. He says that he had a feeling that Chaz would pull through, and beckons him inside. With resolve in his eyes, Chaz enters the academy. And that is where we'll have to leave things for today. When we come back next time, Professor Banner finally wakes up, and we begin to get some answers into his enigmatic past as Chaz begins a new life at the Zalug Academy. Hoping to get that up much sooner than this episode. I have had some major stuff going on recently that's been eating up most of my time, some of which I'll be sharing on the channel soon, but that's mostly wrapped up for now, and I'm back to making content. So, do the subscribey thing, or the Twitter thing if you haven't already, and part 6 will be up before you know it. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!